Okay.
They're using the momentum of the club to help them stay farther and farther away from the ball.
Hey guys, welcome to Fire Rock Country Club in Arizona. And Mike Malaska, how are you?
Good to see you.
Mike's been on about 30 or 50 Be Better Golf videos, and this I think is going to be the most important one we've done. Mike has his own YouTube channel, and on that channel, you had a quick video. It was only like 3 minutes long or 5 minutes long or something, talking about this loop and how it's not just style, and it's something that people talk about so much, but I see little progress made amongst general golfers. This seems like something that is like a pandemic in golf, you know?
Yeah, it is.
As far as the club comes in and the club goes out.
Yeah.
And guys on the PGA Tour seem to be doing something completely opposite, and it seems to be almost like a binary thing. Like,
it is.
Either you're doing it or you're not. So talk a little bit about, one, what is the problem, and two, why is it important, and three, how to fix it.
Okay, well, I think first of all, people understand that they take the club, that when they swing, they come what they classically called over the top.
Yeah.
And so they go, well, I'm coming over the top. I want the club to come more from the inside. So the first concept is they go, well, if I want the club to come more from the inside, then I'm going to take it back more on the path I want it to come down on, which is a train wreck for a couple of reasons we're going to show you here in a minute. The more they take the club back on this line, the more it ends up coming down on this one. Now, why does that happen? Well, let's talk about sports for a minute.
Okay.
Because this is critical, because nobody comes over the top in these other sports. So I've done this for years, and everybody, I bring them out. If you took a baseball bat and I had somebody hold a bat, when they pick the bat up, they pick it up like this. So it goes from vertical to horizontal. So the bat works this way.
Well, I haven't done this before, Mike, so let's do what you would normally do with a person.
Okay, so I'd say, well, just
tell me what you would do. Yeah.
I just say, here, take the bat.
All right.
Okay, so when you picked it up, now pick it up and swing. Okay, so the bat went from, you picked it up, it went vertical, and it went horizontal. It looped to the inside.
Yeah.
It went from up here and it went down.
I would never in a million years
take it there and come over there.
No, never.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
yeah.
Now if you take a tennis racket, and you're going to hit a forehand in tennis,
sure.
It goes up to, exactly. You would never think about taking it in there and coming over it.
No.
Okay, so my question becomes, you take these two and you work them this way. Why then do you take this one and go the opposite direction? Well, some of it is because you want it to come here on the downswing, so you think that you take it here on the backswing. Here's the reality and why those you don't. If you take the club back, if the club is out here, if the momentum of the club is constantly moving away from the ball, if it's doing this, see where it's going?
Yeah.
If it's moving that way, when you change directions, if the momentum of the club is going that way, when you change directions, what's going to happen? It gains in weight and force, and what's that going to do? That's going to naturally shallow the club and bring it from the inside. So the more the club is out here, and the more it's going this way, as you change directions, that automatically brings the club from the inside. If the club gets going back this way, the momentum of the club can't keep going that way. So at some point in time, it's going to lift. Now, not only is it lifting, where's the momentum of the club going? It's going back towards the ball. So what does your body do? It picks up the momentum of the club and it comes right over the top with it, because it's almost impossible to stop that and then reroute it back the other way.
So the two things I saw there, Mike, if you just take your posture, the first way you did it, kind of your circle was going in this kind of direction, your backswing circle, like this.
Yes.
And then the second way you did it, your circle was going in this direction.
Right.
And so that's kind of, you've talked about like the loop.
That's right.
And you said, so talk a little bit about then what do guys do on the tour and why do they do that?
The guys on tour, which you see all of them, most every single one of them, when they take the club away, by the time the club gets parallel to the ground, the club head is either even with or to that side of their hands.
Yeah.
The reason they're there is because at this point in time, they're also fully turned and their weight's into their right heel. Then they change directions, and when they do that, what does the club do? It wants to go this way. So that is what helps the club come more from the inside. It keeps their right shoulder turned, it keeps their right hip back. So the momentum of the club then helps them stay away from the ball.
Okay.
Amateurs are going just the opposite direction, and so because the club gets so far back here, when they go this way, their right shoulder and their right hip move out.
Yeah.
So these guys want to stay away from the ball. They want this to happen. So they're using.
They're always looking to get more space from the ball?
Yeah, they're using the momentum of the club to help them stay farther and farther away from the ball. There you go.
Michael, because I know it'll come up in the comments, because anytime you do any kind of video about the takeaway or any kind of video about the loop or anything,
yeah,
everyone, a lot of people will say, well, what about Bobby Jones? What about Ray Floyd? What about Nancy Lopez, or some of these players that went under on the way back?
Yeah.
You know, so for these whataboutisms, what would you?
What about
and as far as like 2023 PGA Tour, I don't think there's really there's maybe a couple, but
there's
like
hardly any.
Yeah, hardly any. I think almost everybody, you got this loop going.
Yeah. Now, you look at Ray Floyd. Ray Floyd took the club back like this, but his hands went out.
Okay.
So even though he took the club back, his hands went out and his arms went up, and they rerouted.
Okay. So his circle was still this way.
So his circle was still this way with his arms. Mm-hmm. So was Nancy Lopez. She took the club back in here, but her hands went out, her arms went out, and then she stalled at the top and routed it back underneath. So her arms still made a loop this way.
Had that real slow tempo to make up for it.
Yeah. So her arms didn't get in here and go this way. Her club went back this way.
Gotcha.
But her arms went out, and then she went up, and then she rerouted her arms to the inside. Now there's been a few.
Yeah.
Sam Snead and a couple of those guys who did they took the club a little inside and they worked the club out onto the swing plane. Now Victor Hovland, he does this, the club's still on that side of his hands, so he gets in here and he comes out onto the swing plane.
It's not out and over, it's out and it's just in and on.
There's not one player who's ever been over their swing plane. Mm-hmm. There's some that go under and out onto it.
Yeah.
There haven't been any really good players who've been out and over it.
Okay.
So that does work to go out and over your backswing path if you're out and onto your swing plane. There have been some players that have done that. There have been a few, like you say, they say, well, what about Ray Floyd and Nancy Lopez? Well, they did this, and the club went way behind them, but their hands and arms went way out like this, and their arms routed back to the inside. So they were kind of hit it a little bit.
Okay.
Even though the club went back, their arms still circled to the inside.
So I don't know how much you get into the golf business stuff, but you know what people say, like, oh, golf is an X amount dollar industry. What is it? Like let's say golf is a $60 billion industry in America. It's a lot if you take everything people do with golf. So the $50 billion question, Mike, I think really would be, if somebody is a bad case of the circle is definitely going this way.
Yeah.
Or even the circle, the magnitude of the circle isn't that much, but it is really ingrained as far as making it change.
Yeah.
How do we get somebody to, a great coach from Oregon used to say, reverse the curse? How do we get somebody to do that?
Well, okay, I was lucky this year. I spoke at the National Coaching Summit. And one thing I've always believed my entire career is, first of all, do you really want to change something? Okay, is the change going to be worthwhile? So if somebody's a little over it, and they're say a scratch or a plus handicap, or they're a 5 and they don't play a lot, and then why are you changing it?
Yeah.
You're going to go try to play the tour. What's the point of changing it?
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
That's right. So that's the first question. If you say, yes, I want to change it, then here becomes what you have to be willing to do. If your swing is here, or if your swing's here and you want it here, so if you're taking the club back and it makes this little move and it's coming over the top a little bit like this, and you say, well, look, I'd really like it to go here and go there. Mm-hmm. There's no way you're going to be able to do it a little bit at a time. And the learning specialists that were speaking at the summit, which I've been taught this for years from learning people.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to exaggerate dramatically. You cannot feel little teeny increments. So if your swing's here and you want it here, you have to be willing to go way over here. And then you say, okay, I can do the total opposite, a big exaggeration. And then you go, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little less and a little less and a little less, because your swing wants to be over here.
Yeah.
So if you can do this over here you can then do less and less and get it here pretty quick. So,
like a good example might be like what Jordan Spieth's doing right now. It's like such a crazy exaggeration.
exactly. So if I'm a person who takes the club and it goes like this,
yeah,
then you got to be willing to do this,
yeah,
which is a huge exaggeration. And then you say, okay, can I do that? Now, first of all, you'd be surprised how many people cannot exaggerate the opposite of what they do.
yeah.
I mean,
Or they'll say to you like, man, that was a crazy exaggeration. You're like, you barely changed.
hardly even changed.
Right.
So when you look at me, if I go from here, that's a big exaggeration.
Oh yeah.
Now I can do exaggerations. I mean, it doesn't matter whose swing you told me to do. If it's that person, if it's somebody who hinges their wrist really early, I cannot hinge my wrist at all. If it's so I can do the exaggeration.
Sure.
So whatever your swing is, so if you want to get the club to come from the inside, if you want that, then you have to start with this. You take it and you pick it right straight up and you take it outside and you loop it around way to the inside. So you go like this. And you hit some like that. And then you do it less and less and less.
And when you're doing these big exaggerations, you think it's beneficial to do it off a tee?
For sure off a tee. Anything you practice when you're changing, you're off a tee.
Yeah.
Because if you put it on the ground, you're going to make some good swings and you'll miss hit the ball terribly.
Really bad feedback.
And so it's bad feedback. So you think that's terrible. No. If I'm making big changes, if I'm working on my swing, I don't start off the ground off a tight lie. I start off a tee because I still have to control the face and I want some good feedback. And as I get better, then I challenge myself with the ground. I don't start off immediately with a 3-iron off the ground making full swings. I start with a 7-iron off a tee.
Sure. Let me ask your opinion on, because I've heard different things about this in the literature for motor learning and also from pros, is how much do you think doing things like, let's say at home without a golf ball, just movement things, but no golf ball. I've heard both ways. I've heard that just will not transfer, and I've heard it's good to pattern it.
No, it's critical.
Okay. Yeah. So give us something that like maybe we could do at home.
Okay, so at
that
home,
would be important. Yeah.
So at home, you set up, got your hands in front of you, you take your hands, you take your hands and arms and you go up, you turn and you reroute your arms around to the inside and bring them in and swing them up. So you go up and out, you turn, and you route them inside and out. So you're going up, big route around and swing out. No club, just like that. You make huge exaggerations. Yeah, I mean, you want to train the motor patterns. You want your body, if this is what you got to do this. And then you can do that same thing with a club at home without a ball.
Yeah.
And watch yourself in a mirror. And then what would be the next step? If you think you can do that, then you do it with a club at home hitting a piece of paper on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then a plastic ball. I mean, if I had the ideal way to do it with people, I'd have them do the motor pattern, then do a swing where they didn't hit anything, and then they hit something into a net, and then they hit a ball into a net, and then they stood to the side and hit it, and if they could do it down the range, then we'd let them keep doing it.
And if there's a hiccup anywhere along that process,
then you go backwards.
Go back to no club.
If you're trying to make changes.
Sure, yeah.
You know, if that's the best way to learn. If you just take a ball and you're on a range and you're trying to hit it, you're not going to make the changes because now you're going to revert back to your old swing, especially if you swing at full speed.
Yeah.
Full speed's worthless because full speed is reflex. So as soon as I stand up here and I make a swing and I go at pretty much, that's reflex. I'm just taking it back and hitting it. I'm not learning anything from that. I'm reinforcing a reflex. If I like what I'm doing, fine. But if I want to make a change, I can't go at that speed.
Okay. Yeah.
Nobody can.